There are moments in history when the smallest spark can ignite a fire that reshapes the fate of men and the memory of a place. On a sun-scorched morning, in a remote military base perched on the edge of a silent valley, one such moment quietly waited. The air was thick with discipline and tension, the kind that could be felt in the rigid shoulders of soldiers and the purposeful swing of polished boots. At the center of this charged atmosphere stood Captain Varick, a man whose reputation was as loud as his arrogance. His eyes, sharp and demanding, scanned the formation, expecting obedience, expecting fear, expecting unquestioning compliance. The men had learned to bend, to nod, to execute his orders without hesitation. Yet, beneath the gleam of medals and the harshness of command, corruption festered hidden beneath routine drills, masked as necessity. Across the line, near the back, a new recruit moved silently. Thomas Greer was unremarkable in stature but formidable in precision. He had joined not to shine, not to impress, but to serve with quiet competence. Unlike others, he had a principle that could not be bent, loyalty to justice, not to the tyranny of rank. Today, the line of soldiers would witness a confrontation that would leave them questioning what obedience truly meant. The captain barked an order meant to humiliate a subordinate, a demand that bordered on cruelty disguised as discipline. His voice cut through the morning, sharp as a whip. Execute it, or face the consequences, he roared, his eyes daring defiance to emerge. And it was then that Thomas, standing alone, felt the weight of choice: obedience or principle. The moment hung in the air, taut as a drawn bow. Thomas stepped forward, boots crunching against the gravel, his movements deliberate, measured. A hush fell over the base. Every soldier, every eye, followed this quiet figure as he reached the captain. "Sir," Thomas said, his voice steady, unwavering, "I will not obey this order." The sound of his refusal seemed to strike the air itself. A sharp, almost audible crack of tension splintered the formation. Captain Varick's face, rigid with authority moments ago, contorted in disbelief. His mouth opened, and no words emerged, only the stunned silence of hundreds of men witnessing the unthinkable. Time itself seemed to pause. The recruit's calm defiance stood like an unyielding wall against the captain's tyranny. And in that instant, the invisible chain of fear that had bound the base was broken. Authority had been challenged, arrogance exposed, and power humbled, all with the quiet strength of principle. For a heartbeat, the world seemed suspended. The captain's hand trembled above his sidearm, the first sign that the veneer of control had cracked. He had never been silenced, never had defiance stared back at him with such clarity. Thomas did not flinch, did not bow. Every soldier in the formation held their breath, feeling the shift as if the earth itself had tilted. Varick's face, once carved from confidence, now betrayed panic, shame, and confusion. "You a broken bar, you dare?" he stammered, his voice breaking, faltering in a way no officer should ever endure before his men. The irony was cruel. The recruit he had dismissed as insignificant now loomed larger in the minds of all present. Humiliation did not require raised voices or physical force, it needed only the courage to stand, the willingness to choose right over fear. A superior officer, Colonel Harding, had been observing from the sidelines. He stepped forward, eyes sharp, measuring the aftermath. "This is a moment," he said quietly, "that will define the discipline of this unit. Not by fear, but by judgment." Thomas bowed slightly, not in submission, but in acknowledgement of duty. Harding turned to the captain, his gaze piercing. "Perhaps it is time you remember that respect is earned, not demanded." The base remained still, the men digesting the unprecedented display. Whispers spread like wildfire. An idea seeded, growing in the silence. Obedience without virtue is empty. Authority without honor is fragile. Thomas had not merely defied an order, he had demonstrated a principle far stronger than fear. In that moment, every soldier understood that true power lay not in the badge or rank, but in the courage to act rightly, instantly, without hesitation. And the moral crystallized, simple yet profound: tyranny thrives in silence, but even a single act of integrity can shatter it completely. The lesson etched itself into the minds of those who watched: no command, no matter how loud or backed by fear, can override the power of conscience. Years would pass, and the story of that morning became legend. Thomas Greer's defiance was recounted quietly in barracks, During drills, over dinners where new recruits were cautioned about the nature of obedience, remember, the veterans would say, a man's rank does not protect him from shame, and a soldier's courage defines his place in history. Captain Varick's career never recovered, his promotion slowed, his influence waned. He remained in command, yes, but his authority had been hollowed, his pride shattered. Every glance from a recruit or fellow officer reminded him of that single instant when the illusion of power crumbled before a quiet, unyielding principle. Thomas did not seek recognition, he continued to serve, unassuming, his acts blending into daily life. Yet the impact of his courage rippled across generations, teaching one undeniable truth: the measure of a man is not how he bends others to his will, but how he stands when the weight of wrong bears down upon him. Decades later, when asked why he acted with such decisiveness, Thomas would reply with a calm clarity that echoed across the ages: authority is given, but respect is earned. And when the two are in conflict, it is duty to virtue that must prevail. This single moment, a quiet defiance against arrogance, transformed the base, its soldiers, and the philosophy of command forever. It became a story told in reverent tones, a lesson in courage, a fable of integrity triumphing over hubris. History may record battles and strategies, but it is these moments of moral clarity that endure. And in every retelling, the lesson is clear: courage does not shout, it stands.